Okay, so here we go. So what we're looking at is the various text tools in Traverse PC. Um, I'm using TPC Desktop 2021 R1. This is the release that will be coming out shortly. We'll be releasing it hopefully for beta testing next week, and actual release should be 1st of August we're shooting for. Okay, so you will notice some differences in the text tools from where you're at right now, but it should make sense as we work through this. First of all, I want to talk about the format toolbar. That's this toolbar right here. Let me just pull it off here. This is the format toolbar. And what you have set here, whether it's the font size, font style, color, those control how the text initially looks when you put it on a drawing. It can be changed later in the properties, and we're going to see that. The other thing that controls here as you put the text on the page is the paper space button. If it's turned on, anything you add will be in paper space. If it's turned off, anything you add will be in survey space, and we're not going to go into detail on that. Hopefully you all understand that already. So those two things control initially how the text objects go on. And just like other stuff that you can add to your drawing, all text objects can be moved using a drag and drop whenever you're not in a specific action. Don't forget that don't try and drag any of these text objects while a tool is working. Okay, so we're going to start with the simplest text tools and go through to the most current. So we're going to start with just text right here. So I'm going to hit text, and now I want you to watch the status bar down here. All right, whenever you're in a tool, the status bar tells you what Traverse PC expects you to do next. So as you can see, it says left click a start point. Also notice that you can use snaps. You can use I for insert, E for end, M for midpoint, T for intersect, N for nearest. And if you hit R on your keyboard, then you can do this text object and then follow it up with another one and so on. So you can do repeats on it. So at this point, I'm going to left click a start point. I'm not going to use a snap. Just going to left click here to start my text object. And now if you look at the status bar, it's telling you what to do next. It says enter equals a new line, enter equals end, control V is a paste. All right, so I'm actually going to do a control V and then enter equals end. So I hit my enter key twice in a row, and that ends the tool. All right, so I just used a control V to paste in my notes about this section. Now you'll notice that this is from an outline that I have on my other screen. It does not come in formatted that way. All right, it's just text. So everything gets lined up and it's got space in here. All right, so this is how the straight, normal, simple text tool works. Wherever you have a carriage return line feed is where the line ends. All right, now the carriage return line feed, you may see it some places as CR/LF. Basically, if you hit enter at the end of a line, it's going to give you a new line, and then the lines will just run as long as they run. Okay, so let's take a look at the text object properties. And we're going to look at the properties of this text object, and we're going to talk about everything in it. Now, there are a couple of ways that you can get there. I can right-click any object and choose properties, or in a simple way, as long as it's not a traverse object, you can double-click it. If it's a traverse object and you double-click it, it will bring up the traverse drawing settings. So that's a little shortcut you may or may not be aware of. And if I double-click on this, it's going to bring up my properties. All right. Now you'll notice that this has been rearranged, and the reason we rearranged it is to support the new rich text tool that we'll be looking at a little bit later. That's coming in 21R1. Like I say, we should be putting that out in beta, I believe, next week, and full release hopefully August 1st. Anyhow, this is now split into sections. So we have the font section up here, and you can see that it is set to, it's matching what we had on the format toolbar up here. All of this stuff, this is common for all the text tools. So you're going to see this on every text tool, whether it's angled text, text box, rich text box. You're going to see this font section, and it is common for all of the text tools. Now with text, this tool, anything you do up here will affect all of the text. So keep that in mind. Properties, what layer is it on? Clear background, paper space. These should be, you should pretty well know what these are. Angle and bearing can be used to make any piece of text, even text boxes, angled text. So be aware of that. Plus, another nice thing is that you can use equations here in the bearing. So I could say, do an equation of 201 ... 202 to pull in the bearing from 201 to 202 so that my angle for this text object matches this line between these 2 points. So that's a simple way to do angled text. I tend to do it that way most of the time rather than using an angled text tool, although we will look at that and there are reasons to use that as well. So I tend to do this. Whatever piece of text, I'll tend to go in and put a bearing on it so that I can get something precise. That's just the way I work. Now this is new, and this I believe is the only new thing that you haven't seen before. Everything else here you should be familiar with. It just is organized differently. But this one section here, fixed or units, it's one or the other. This is new in 2021 R1. What it is, fixed in either inches or millimeters, means that the font size is fixed at that size, just as you're used to in Traverse PC. Change scale, the font size doesn't change. So if you've got everything set to 1/10 of an inch, it's going to be 1/10 of an inch. All right. Units can be used. This is a traditional CAD font sizes. All right, so in CAD, as you change the scale, the font size changes based on the scale, and that's what the units does. All right, so you may have a reason to use that in certain situations. I don't have an example for you, but it's available to you when you need it. So keep in mind, that's the difference between these two. And as always, I should have mentioned this before. As always, if you ever have any question about what something is, hit your F1 key on your keyboard to launch help, which popped up on, of course, on my other screen behind something else. Here it is. Okay, so Anywhere in Traverse PC, if you don't understand what's being asked of you, hit your F1 key for help. Okay, let's get that out of the way. So that's this section, the properties section, layer, angle, bearing, and fixed versus units. Paragraph formatting is currently just alignment. All right, so left, center, or right justification. Should be familiar with that. Inserts, I hope you're familiar with inserts, especially variables, because you can use these variables as you're setting up your drawing templates. You can use these variables to automatically pull information into your drawing. If you use these variables, it can really speed up a portion of your drawing process. So be aware of this. Once again, if you don't know what this is, go into help, do a search for variable, the word variable in help, if you're not familiar with this. All right. Symbols, you can insert special characters that are not easily typed on the keyboard. So, you can insert whatever you want from this list, and they will insert in whatever font and style that you're using in this box here. Line is used for a border. So if I want to put a border on it, what kind of line do I want and how thick? Outline only gives me outlined text. In other words, rather than having, well, it's probably easier to show than explain. So you see the text out here. Let me just go ahead and do outline only and OK. And I forgot that I had angled it. So let's zoom in on this. So this is outline only text. All right, that's what outline only does. Let's go back into properties on this. So now you can see that. All of these objects are common throughout the text tools that we're going to look at today, with the exception of outline only. Outline only is not currently available for the new rich text. But we hope to have that soon. But right now, it's not available for rich text. Right down here, you've got a big text window where you can come in here, you can edit stuff, you can select using your mouse, type stuff. Here's if I want another carriage return line feed, I can just click in there and hit my enter key, and now I've just made that onto its own line. All right, so that's how you can work with this. You can paste into this. Let me talk about this section down here at the bottom. I can do select all, but I can also use standard Windows controls here. So I can do a Control A to select all. So I do a Control A, it selects everything. Or I could hit the select all button. All right. Copy. If I have something selected in here, I can hit this copy button to copy it, or I can use a Control C. Control C, standard Windows copy hotkey. I can also do a paste. So I do have something in my Windows clipboard right now, so I can do a paste using this button or the standard Windows hotkey of Control V, and I just pasted some stuff in. All right. So that's these buttons. I can also check the spelling on this. What does it see? Okay, TPC is not in my dictionary. I can add it. So yes, so that's how I can spell check this one object. Next option, apply format. What this does is it is designed to show you the way it will look on the drawing. Now notice I'm not able to see the outline only in here because I can't zoom in and out on this. All right, so That's apply format. Now, apply format, once again, everything down here is common to all of the text tools with the exception of apply format. So this is the second thing that is not common to all the text tools. Apply format is not used with the rich text tool because the rich text window shows you the way things are going to show by default. It's automatically showing you the way it looks. All right. So that's two things that are not in rich text. That's outline only and apply format. Everything else is. So then we get over to here to OK. Should be self-explanatory. I hit OK and my stuff shows up on the drawing. Hit cancel if I don't want anything to change. And right over here, this pencil icon will open the what you're working on in an external text window. So in this case, for text, angled text, and text boxes, it will open in a Notepad editor. It's limited functionality, but it gives you this box and you can size it however you want, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So that's what the pencil icon does. For the rich text, and you'll see this later, for rich text, it actually opens Wordpad rather than Notepad editor. Okay. So that's text. And the properties dialog box. Always remember F1 for help if you don't know what it's asking you. All right, let's zoom out here. And let's go over here. So let's take a look at angled text next. So keep in mind that all of these are in the draw menu. Here's that rich text. But these are all in the draw menu. They are also on toolbars. Now you may have added the draw toolbar to your drawing view. I have not. All right. I'm going to go up here. Notice the text button up here. Notice this little arrow in the lower right corner. This is something you may not be familiar with. So I want to point this out. Any button that you see this little arrow in the lower right corner, that tells you that there's more than one button there. All right. So if I hold down my left-hand mouse button on this, I see all of the buttons that are available to me. So now I'm still holding my mouse button down. I can go down and wherever I let go of my mouse button, it's going to choose that tool. So if I come down here and let go on curved leader, I've just started a curved leader. Okay, so be aware that those are available to you. I right-clicked to get out of that tool. You don't have to have all of the toolbars showing because all this stuff is here. So if I'm going to hold down here and I'm going to choose angled text. Now keep in mind that angled text, it's based on the settings in the format bar there. So I'm going to get Arial at 1/10 of an inch. It's going to be normal and red. So I'm going to choose this. And once again, down here on the status bar, TPC is telling us what it wants from us. Left click a starting point and I can use snaps and the repeat. All right. So I'm just going to click on the screen. The angled text is useful if you don't have a bearing that can be recalled by using the, I'm sorry, by using the properties. Angled text can be used to get it looking about where you want it, whatever angle you want. I personally do not like to do it this way just because I tend to want to cock my head to the side and here I'd be sitting with my head at, almost a 90-degree angle. But I've clicked on the drawing Oh, let me back up. I apologize. I missed something there. Let me get out of that tool. All right. What I missed, what I wanted to show you is what the status bar is telling us. So I've clicked a starting point. Now it's saying specify an angle. And once again, I can use snaps. If I choose to, I could use a snap to set this, but it's also telling me what my angle and bearing are as I move my cursor. And if I hold my shift key down, I can do it more precisely. It doesn't move as much as I move my mouse. All right. So I can get something pretty precise by holding down my shift key if I want a specific angle or bearing. All right. But once again, I'll go ahead and left click on the drawing, and that has started the tool. And now I've got the same commands down here as I had with the regular text tool. So enter gives me a new line, enter ends the tool, and I can use Control V to paste, which I will because I've copied some out of my notes again. So I've just pasted, I hit my enter key twice in a row, and there's what I've pasted into my angled text. All right, so that works identical to the regular text, the way it worked, except that I also had to choose an angle for it. All right. As I go into properties, this window is identical to the last one we looked at. It works exactly the same. All the tools are exactly the same. There is no difference. All right. So no difference between text and angled text other than angled text gives you the ability to graphically set the angle. That's the difference between the two commands. Moving on now. Let's take a look at text boxes. That's our next tool in our list. So once again, I'm just going to hold down my left mouse button. So here's regular text. Here is angled text. And here is a text box. Now, once again, it's going to be based on the format toolbar settings. Now let's, before I do this, I'm just going to make this stuff a little bit larger. All right, so I'm going to hold down and I'm going to choose text box. Now once again, we're going to watch the status bar. What's it going to tell us? Left click a starting corner and I can use snaps or repeat. All right, so I'm going to left click a starting corner. Now, left click diagonal corner. The first click is always the upper left corner of your text box. All right, you cannot start at any other corner other than the upper left. If I try now to go, oh, I want it up, no, it won't go. I want it left, no, it won't go. It's always down and to the right from my first click. So it's telling us let's do left click the diagonal corner and I can use the snaps again. I'll go ahead and left click here. And now once again, enter equals new line, enter, enter equals end. All right. So once again, I have copied into my Windows clipboard some of my note text, and I'm just going to use a Control V to paste. All right, same thing we've done with the others. All right, no difference. I'm going to hit my Enter key twice in a row to end the tool. All right, so here's my text box. Now notice the difference between text, angled text, and the text box. The text box is doing word wraps based on the size of the box that I created. All right. Now, if I have not, because I just I just put a rectangle on my screen. I didn't know how big I would need it or anything. I want to change the size of it. I can right click it. I go to modify objects and I choose resize. That gives me these handles. So I could come here, let's make this a little wider and maybe a little taller. If I don't make it taller, I might lose some of that text. I was cutting off some of that text. All right, so you can see as I change the size, you can see where the word wraps are changing, and you can see when I'm no longer cutting off some text. I usually try to make my initial text box larger than what I need. Because I don't want to accidentally cut off some of the stuff I'm putting in there, so I'll make it larger. But then I always come back after the fact, I'll come back and size it the way I want it sized. Now there are a couple of reasons that I don't want this box to be a lot bigger than my text itself. For one thing is that my cursor will then react to my text box when I'm not on any of its text. That's one issue. Another issue is that if I use clear background on this, so it's blanking out anything behind it, it's going to blank out this whole area, even where there's not any text. So always, with text boxes, you want to come back after the fact and size them accurately to what you have. And I just click outside of that, and there it is formatted the way I had it. Once again, I can go into properties by double-clicking this or by right-clicking it and choosing properties, and now I'm in the properties of this text box. Once again, this is identical to text and angled text. The only difference with a text box is that you don't need to manually create your line breaks. All right. Traverse PC does that for you. See, here's a big long sentence that you can see has been the line feed is based on the width of my text box. All right, so that's the difference between text and angled text and text boxes. I tend to use text boxes pretty much for everything rather than regular text. You know, I just do. I don't see much advantage to using regular text in many cases. All right, so that's a text box. Now we're going to give you a sneak peek into rich text. Let's just move this out of the way. That's what I was talking about earlier. You can do a drag and drop as long as you're not in a tool. So if I were, let me point this out, if I were in, for example, the resize, don't try to drag it. All right, not going to work. Okay. Rich text. Here's a sneak peek for you. Once again, this should be releasing to beta next week for anyone who wishes to beta test it, any of our connection members who want to beta test it. It's not required, and we should be releasing it first part of August. Okay, rich text, different icon. Notice it's got different colors in it. And that's because rich text supports a lot of stuff. So I've just chosen it. And the status bar, once again, left click a starting corner. Remember what I said about text boxes? Same for rich text. It's always upper left corner. And then left click diagonal corner, the status bar says. So I come down here and I left click again. And now it's going to be different than a regular text box. Immediately it pops this up. So I'm not typing in the screen, in the drawing. In this case, I am going to be typing in the properties dialog, even though it says create rich text box, it's because I'm creating it. This is the properties window that you've seen before. Notice that outline only and apply format are missing. Okay. Everything else here is the same, except you'll notice that we haven't pulled stuff from the format toolbar. This may change. I'm not sure where this is going to go, but basically at this point, I would click down here and I would set whatever I want. So the way rich text works, let's say that I want to put something in here and I want a header on it that's larger. So I would come up here and we'll choose a larger font here. And I want this centered above the rest of the stuff. So I could do that, come down here, and then I could type whatever I want, hit my enter key, and I get a new line. Now at this point, and this is where the various sections come in. All right. So I could now come down here for in paragraph formatting. I could say, okay, now I want to go to left. And now I want for some reason I did not get 15. Like I say, we're going into beta testing, so there may be some bugs here. So there's my 15 for that and 10 for this. So my next paragraph where I'm typing is now at a 10. So this is the way rich text works. So it's going to allow you to do multiple sizes, multiple styles, mix justification, these kinds of things. All right. So let's take a look. This is why this is rearranged. Font can be used for any individual character. All right, I could select a single character and say, well, make that one character bigger. All right, or I could select a whole word, a whole paragraph, whatever. This entire section can work this way. So I could do strike through on that letter A and underline it and whatever I want to do here, all on that one character. All right, or one word or whatever. This is rich text. Paragraph formatting applies to paragraphs. Now, our definition of a paragraph is from either the start of the object to the first carriage return line feed, in other words, the enter key to get a new line. All right, that's a paragraph. Or from the previous carriage return line feed to the next, that's a paragraph. Or from the previous carriage return line feed to the end is the carriage return line feed. Now, question, what is the default width for rich text? There is no default width. Our text box, remember I drew a text box initially. From upper left to lower right, I made it this size. All right, so there is no default width. All right, if you're referring to the text itself, the width of the text is dependent on the size of the text. Larger the text, the wider it is. All right, so font applies to whatever you've selected, from an individual character to the whole thing. Paragraph applies to whatever paragraph, and you don't have to select the paragraph. You can simply click in it. So if I click in this paragraph, I can then center it or right justify it or left justify it. I don't have to select it. Okay. I'm going to jump over to inserts now. Inserts work the way they did in regular text. I just put my cursor where I want it, and then I can do an insert. All right, insert. Okay, so it's going to go wherever my cursor is. So selected characters, how little or much you select, this section up here. Entire paragraphs, this section. This is your border. All right, that's the entire object. All right, you're not going to have a border around one line or one paragraph. It's the entire object. The same with properties. Properties applies to the entire object. The entire object is going to be in paper space or not. The entire object is going to have fixed sizes or units. All right, the entire object will be at an angle or not. Okay, so that's why we have these different sections. That's to help you understand how they're going to work. Now, there is a different button here. I'm just going to select all here, and I'm just going to delete everything. There's a different button here that you haven't seen before. It's right here. It's Open Rich Text File. I'm going to click on this. And then this pops me up to wherever I last was, and I happen to have some stuff in here. I'm going to choose this rich text file. Now notice it has an RTF extension. All right, this is important. And I've got some notes on this. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So what this button does, Open Rich Text File, it brings up a Windows Browse window that is looking for RTF files. All right, now RTF is a specific file format. These can be created by many word processors, Wordpad, Microsoft Word, etc. So when you click that button, it brings up this browse window, and you can choose an RTF file. Be aware that Wordpad automatically creates RTF files. Notepad automatically creates TXT files. Microsoft Word automatically creates doc or docx files. All right, so it's important that you understand that we are talking about RTF formats here. So if I'm creating a document in Microsoft Word and I want to use this Open Rich Text File tool, I need to save it as an RTF. Other word processors may work differently. I don't know. But in Microsoft Word, I would choose File, Save As, and change the type to RTF and save it as an RTF file. So how does this work? I choose the file that I want. I simply double click it or click it and choose Open, and it pops it in the way it was created in that RTF file. So it can have varying font sizes and varying paragraph formatting, etc. It's going to bring it in the way it was in that text, in that rich text file. All right. So that's a very handy feature. You could keep a set of documents, rich text file documents, set aside that you could pop into your drawings whenever you need them. Makes it really handy. You could just have them sitting out there in a folder that you just pick them up and put it in. Pick it up, put it in, because you've formatted it once in the rich text editor. All right. The buttons at the bottom. You're familiar with these already. Select all, copy, paste, use your hotkeys if you choose to. Check spelling, OK, cancel. But the pencil icon is different. It opens whatever you've got, and it popped it up on my other screen. I apologize for that. It brings up Wordpad, your Wordpad editor. All right. So I'm out here in Wordpad, and I'm sorry. I thought, oh, I must have clicked something wrong because that is not what I expected. Let's use a different file. Yeah, that doesn't have much in it. Let's pick something else. Oh, this should have more stuff in it. There we go. So it's got more stuff in this file. Now, click this. Sorry, like I say, we're going into beta testing on this. Something's not right here. It's so I obviously need to get back with Oliver because something is not the way I'm expecting it to work here. Okay, I was expecting it to bring that in. So I'll show you what else we can do. I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to select all, going to copy it, bring up my rich text editor. Now I'm going to paste it using a Control V. So I've pasted in the rich text. So now I can edit it in my Wordpad rich text editor. So I could come out here to use an editor that I'm more familiar with, say. All right. So I could come out here, let's make that larger, whatever I want to do with this. Okay. So come out here, do whatever editing I want. I want this one word bold and I want it red. All right. So I can come out here, edit this however I choose. Now I could select it all. And I used a Control A for that. Control C to copy it. Now I can close this. No, I don't want to save that. Come back here and I can just paste it in the way that I had it out there. All right. So that's what my pencil icon does for me now. There will be some tweaks on this. So just be aware of that. So that's how the rich text works. So now when I choose OK, now you're going to see that the width is the width of the box that I drew. And it comes in as rich text here. Now, if I right click this, I can go up and do my resize, just like we did before. So if I go out, I can do this, all right, stretch it out if I want, make it narrower if I want. This should answer what you were asking, Scott. And this rich text box, the way it is working at the moment, as I shrunk it down sideways, it automatically extended it at the bottom. That's a little bit different than the way the text box is currently working. All right. I'm guessing that most likely you're all going to start using the rich text rather than text boxes. I don't know that, but I'm going to guess that you will be doing that. So you get used to that. I think the changes that are coming in with the rich text will have some other effects, like on the text box. It may end up working the same way as the rich text does. All right, so we're still working on this, still kind of fine-tuning to get this out for beta testing. All right. Now, let's take a look at CAD. All right. With this work on rich text, we have also improved our import and export of CAD. All right. I'm going to bring up right here. This is 21R0. This file over here, this is a template file from CAD that was sent to us. And I have imported this file into this drawing. And you'll notice that this text box, this rich text box, it's just totally not here. All right. In R1, I'm going to create a new, you know what, sorry. Yeah, I'm going to create a new drawing. Maybe. There we go. And I'm going to shrink this down a bit, and I'm going to open that same file in the CAD view in 21R1. So that same file right here, and let's zoom in on that same area. All right. I've got a problem with my buttons right now. Okay, here's that same little arrow in the lower right corner. Okay, and my status bar on this says specify first corner. And now I'm going to do that again. Okay, so now we're seeing the same stuff. I'm not going to try and get this. We were zoomed in tighter in the other program. Let me just do one more here. Get over in here. I'm going to select this text box, the one that was missing in R0. If I can get the tool working. I think something's not quite working right here, right at the moment. Edit, there we go. Okay. I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to right click it, and I'm going to send selected entities to the drawing view. So I'm going to send that text box over to the drawing. Now, zoom extents, find it. Where did it go? It should be here. Well, heck, this worked earlier today. I apologize. Like I say, we're going into beta with this. All right, let's do this. So we still have a few little things to work out. It's not where I want to be. Okay, that same file, I'm just going to import it. It's going to take a moment because there's a lot of stuff in this file. All right. So here is that rich text box that I was trying to bring in. All right, the import worked. If I go into the properties of this, it is rich text. All right, it is a rich text box with multiple colors. Yeah, and font sizes. All right, and it comes in. Let's go back into that. Let's get this so that we can actually read it. That green and yellow is terrible for reading in here. So I'm just going to select everything, and I'm going to tell us make this thing black. And let's see if we can. I lost it. And I apologize for that. Like I say, we're still working on this. So a couple of little things there. My point being, it comes in the way it should. If we go back to R0 and take a closer look at some of this other stuff like this text item, this in the CAD file was rich text. So you see here some oddball stuff comes in because we're not fully supporting the CAD rich text, M-text. All right. So we are now supporting M-text both in and out to and from CAD. All right. You will want to use TrueType fonts when you're exporting to CAD, because AutoCAD has good support for TrueType fonts. You get into some of the other fonts, not necessarily. So that's about it. You can see that, yeah, we still have a few little things to work out, but the rich text, I think you're all going to be going to the rich text once it's available to you. It's so much more user-friendly. So is that a single object? Let's try it. Oh, never mind. It's already over here. So this, let's see, is this one text? Yeah. So various colors, various alignments and stuff, and we will be working on the rich text. It does not currently support everything that's supported in WordPad. You know, bullet lists, numbered lists, things like that are not yet supported, but we're working on that. Thank you all for joining me. Everybody have a great rest of your day, rest of your week, and keep on staying safe out there. Thanks a lot.